Okay, let's get started, everybody. First off, hello. Thank you so much for coming to my auto layout workshop. I've been working on this one for a while, actually, like since last quarter. And I think I found an okay way to teach this that should make sense. So definitely let me know if that is the case. Today, we are going to be talking about a few things, and it's all related to auto layout. And they are the concepts of sizing, direction, spacing, padding, and alignment. Those are the 5 key areas in auto layout that kind of like parameters that we can choose, and they give auto layout its like auto-ness. And so it's really cool. So we're just going to jump right in to the very first one, which is direction and spacing. So for a lot of this, I'm going to demo on screen. And you guys are more than welcome to hop on. I have a bit.ly at the end where we're going to do a group activity that I think will be a lot of fun. But for right now, just kind of hang tight and I'm going to kind of talk about the different things. I'll give an example of just, kind of theory like this, and then I'll go to an actual app and I'll show you how we can implement that in real life. So the first one is direction and spacing, and it is the most basic part of auto layout that you can do. And these are 2 parameters that we can change as soon as we make something auto layout. So you can see we have all of these squares here, and our goal is to make them look like this. And we can do this with auto layout. What's up?
You want to share your screen?
I really do. I was debating it, but you've convinced me. All right.
Are we recording this workshop?
We are recording it. I don't know. I didn't share my screen, so I'm not sure. That looks like we're recording. So good. Thank you, Aparna. So like I said before, there's sizing, direction, padding, spacing, alignment. The first 2 we're going to go through is direction and spacing. So we can achieve a result like this using auto layout. So let's go ahead and select all of the items that we want to put into an auto layout. And auto layout groups are kind of just like normal groups. They just have special parameters that we can change. So what I can do to make an auto layout group is I can just group this like normal, do a Command or Control G. And then on the right here, you can see we have this little auto layout panel, and we can click plus here, and now it's an auto layout. However, I almost never do that because it's super easy to do the same thing. Before you make the group, just press Shift A, and it says, I know what you want to do. I know that you want to group these and do the auto layout because that's the hotkey for auto layout. So Shift A, we're going to be doing that a lot today because we're going to be selecting a lot of items and then turning them into an auto layout group. But here's our auto layout group, and it's already kind of looking like this. And Figma is really smart about saying, okay, I saw that for the most part, these items were on a horizontal axis. And so I'm going to put them into a horizontal auto layout here. Something else we can do if we want is we can make it vertical. So if I have items that I wanted to be stacked vertically, I can also do that too. But we want horizontal in this case. And for these items, it looks like they're spaced a little bit closer together. And it's super easy to change spacing. All we need to do is go to this little spacing item here, and we can either drag on that icon or we can enter a specific value. So I'm going to say 20. That looks pretty close. And if we compare these, oh, they're really close, but it looks like the order is just a little bit different. And this is something that's really nice about auto layout is that I can actually change that order very easily. So if I click on one of them, I want this green to go to the left. I just press the left arrow key and it moves it to the left in the stack. Same thing for the blue one. If I want to move that to the right, I can do that too. So it's super easy to rearrange these. And I think this is pretty good. We did it. So that is how you change direction and spacing with auto layout. But I know these are just colorful squares. So let's take a look at a more real world example. I have a couple for you. So in this case, I have this app called Twigma. It's by Figma, and it is adorable. And it's about buying plants. And so for this specific plant, I want to indicate that this is the color, and then also I want to indicate the size. And so what I can do really easily is I can just select all of these items here. Let's get rid of this background just so you can see everything. I can select all these items and do a Shift A. And remember what I said about it trying to guess, because these items are vertically stacked. I said, I know what you want. You want a vertical stack, but in this case, I didn't. So what we're going to do is we're going to change it to a left to right auto layout. And then that looks pretty. Oops, Shivani's here. What's happening? Come in. Cool. And now I can just move this in here. And there we go. We got our color options. Oh, and a couple other people too. This is great. We can add a little background to that. And you might notice that up here, it's a little raised. We'll talk about how to fix that in a second. But the idea is that I have these items that used to be not correlated, but now I can change the spacing in between them. And I've kind of laid them out in this direction that I want to do. Does everybody kind of follow with that? Does that make sense? Cool, cool, cool. I also have another one over here. So these are a bunch of payment details. And I have a bunch of items here. We have a couple of frames. And I have a bunch of items inside these frames where it's the first name and then a little line and the last name and a little line. And this could get very repetitive, especially if I wanted to change the spacing between these items. But what I can do is that I can just select these guys, hold Shift, Shift A, click those two, Shift A, and then same thing for these guys down here. And basically just make each one of them an auto layout. And then select all four of them, make another auto layout. And now I can change what that looks like in here. And the benefit of doing this is that now if I think, that's a little too spaced out, I need that to be closer, I can select both of these and change both of them at the same time and just affect that spacing parameter, which is really powerful when you want to make designs consistent across all the different platforms. I don't know what these spacing values are specifically, but I can change them all at once, which is super duper helpful for this. All right, and now we can bring all these guys over. And you know what? This looks like a good opportunity for auto layout too. So I'm gonna just, with all those selected, Shift A, again, it's super quick to do. And now I have another auto layout where I can change the spacing of these items. And I know that it's gonna be consistent across all of them. This is one of the main benefits of auto layout is that you can control the spacing of items with real big precision, and you know it's always going to be consistent. All right, so that is direction and spacing. Does everybody feel like we have, at least in our heads, a good understanding of direction and spacing? All right, I'm seeing thumbs. That's what we like to see. So next up, I told you we were gonna fix this. There's this alignment section. And the easiest way to think of alignment I found is kind of like a text box. So I'm gonna look at the screen right now, look at me. So we have a text box and we can align either to the left, to the middle, or to the right. A lot of times we can also align up to the top, the middle, or the bottom. And so if we select each combination of those, we'll have 9 combinations. So if we look back at the screen, I have helpfully made a little cheat sheet for you where if you would do a left align to the top, this is what it would look like. And they've made a really nice UI for this where you kind of just have 9 options. So if we go to our auto layout example down here, we can see in this little section here, the alignment panel, we can align to the top right, to the top middle, top left, left middle, dead center, middle right, etc. You guys know how that works. So again, this is really powerful and a really good example of when you might want to do this is back over here. If we wanted all this stuff to be center aligned, which makes a little bit more sense to me, we could select the right thing. And then if we go into here, we can just select center. And now it's going to be all aligned in that middle area. So it's a much more, cohesive visual design. And again, that's just like if I had a text box here, I can go right, left, middle, up, down, center. And each one of those combinations can be expressed in this way. Very good. All right, so a real world example, again, I have these different items and because I'm selling plants, we wanna do auto layouts with plants. So I'm gonna select these bottom ones, do a little Shift A, select these top ones, do a little Shift A. I just wanna make sure that the spacing is consistent with each one of these. So I'm gonna set it to a value and then kind of hone it in right there. Perfect. And then because I want this title to be on top of it, I'm gonna select all of these and do another Shift A. But because it defaults to be the top left, I just need to go back and say top middle. And now this will look like a nice header on top of these new arrivals here. And I can also change it so that they're a little bit closer together so they fit on the screen. There we go. So that's alignment. It's another really powerful tool if you're going to have items that would be kind of straggling off one way or another, especially for elements that have headers like that. All righty. Next one, automatic spacing. So before, what we've been doing, like for this one here, we've always been telling it a specific value for this spacing. Same thing for our horizontal ones. We've always been giving it a specific value for our spacing. But sometimes we don't know how far away we want them to be spaced. We just know how much space they need to occupy. And that is kind of like, if we go to this text box, it's basically like justifying it. So if I have my text justified, we don't really tell it the space in between each one of these words. We just tell it what that total value is going to be. And we let the computer figure out what the actual values of the spacing are. Has everybody used a justified text before? You know what I'm talking about? Perfect. So if we go over to here, we can tell it, instead of packing those items in to a specific spacing, we can space between them. So over here, we're going to go through these guys. I'm just going to do a quick auto layout for these dudes. And it's the same idea. We're going to go into this alignment and padding section. Instead of packed, we're going to space between. And you can see they got out a little bit because they're occupying this full space. You might have also noticed on this alignment center here, it got rid of one of the options. I'll kind of change it again so you can see what I mean. And the reason for that is because if we're going on the right and on the left, we're filling up that whole space. I'm already right aligned and left aligned. And so I can only change the height on a left to right one, and on a vertical one, I will only be able to change the left to right alignment. So you only get one of those directions, which is totally fine. But now what's really cool is if I go left and right with this, it'll automatically figure out that spacing, which is really important if all you know is how big that total item is going to be. You can kind of just fit as many of these in as you want. So like if I were to copy and paste one of these, it just figures out all that spacing for me, which is a really handy tool to have. There we go. And I don't need to worry about specific values. I can just throw those items in, which is really nice. A really cool way to put that in is if you have items that are on the left and the right of something. So I have two different things here. I'm going to select both of these and do a little auto layout. And we want that to be right aligned. So I'm going to right align that. And then I'm also going to auto layout both of these items. Both of these items here. So they're in an auto layout, and I am going to center that. And right now, Figma has done its best guess, and it said, oh, I know that these items are 101 units away, but I don't really want this to be a specific amount. I just want to be able to drag this left and right and be able to get that value. So I'm going to go ahead and say space between here. And now it's really helpful because I can just put this guy in here and pull this guy over there, and boom, my design's done. It's great. I didn't need to worry about a specific spacing. And if I bring this over to another thing like a website design or an iPad design or something like that, I can just do one of these and it'll just work. It's great. It's fantastic. Same thing for these guys here. I can make each one of these its own little auto layout. And I'm going to get rid of that just for now. If we select all of these, we can kind of do them all at once. We're going to space between all of those. If I bring them in here, they'll just kind of occupy that space, which is really nice. Another really cool thing you can do is you can do another auto layout there, and you can mix these. So I have text inside of an auto layout for both of these, and then more text inside auto layouts. And then I have another object, which is just this line. So it's okay to use many different kinds of objects because each object has a bounding box, which is essentially what auto layout uses to make sure it can space things properly. So now I have a checkout cart. This is great. Cool, cool, cool. Is everybody following okay so far? I just want to do a quick check. Okay. Alrighty. Another really powerful part of auto layout is resizing. And I have this little thing over here to illustrate what a container is. I'd imagine it's fairly simple, but I want to make sure we're all on the same page. Each one of these round rects here is a child element. It is only a child element. Hello, welcome. We also have elements that are child elements and containers. So each one of these three red boxes contains 4 child elements, but it's also being contained by the big blue container here. And the easy way to know whether or not something is a container or a child element is if you look on your layers panel over here, if there's a little twirl down or a disclosure triangle, that just means it has children. And again, same thing over here. Each one of these items is a child of this group. And the reason that's important is because when we say things like fill container, it just means the next thing up on that hierarchy level. So that's what we're filling in that axis. And again, this is a really powerful part of auto layout. So if I were to have each one of these guys, instead of being spaced out a specific amount, if I just select all of these squares here, and if we go to this resizing tab, notice that I haven't done any auto layout stuff to these squares in particular. It just knows because these squares are inside of an auto layout, it has an auto layout parent or container. What I can do is I can tell it, go ahead and fill that container. And it's subtle, but now if we move these back and forth, it's keeping that spacing that I've set, and it's filling the rest of the space with the container. It might be a little bit easier if I select all of these guys and I just turn that spacing down completely. And I tell these guys now to fill the container. So fill container. And now for each of these, it'll just go to be as big as the container is. You might also notice something if you're astute, and that is that I have 5 elements in here and they're all trying to fill the container. This doesn't confuse Figma. It just divides it by 5 so that each one of those elements is filling the container as much as it can. If I select one of these and I tell it actually don't fill the container, but only with the red one, that's totally fine. The other ones will pick up the slack and the red one will stay the same. So it just kind of divides up that remaining space by how many elements are inside of it trying to fill the container. Another really cool thing about this is that when you change the spacing, it doesn't have any more space to like move it to be bigger because I fixed the width of this one. So if I change the spacing between the items and says, okay, well, the only flexible value I have is the size of those rectangles. And so I'm just going to make those bigger or smaller. I use this all the time on presentations when I have a set value and I need to have 3 panels. And it's super easy just to make that the flexible value. And this is nice. But what we're going to do is change this. So I have a couple different ways that we can do this. So let's take a look at these color bands here. It looks like each one of these is filling the container in both the horizontal and vertical axis. So let's go ahead and try to remake that. I'm going to show you guys how we do that. So for this one, it's pretty easy. We're just going to select all these guys. Oh, not those. We're going to select all the child elements. And we're going to fill the container left and right. And we're going to fill the container up and down. And now it's the exact same thing. I just have a bunch of things that are filling their containers. Same thing for this responsive pixel frame. And the big difference here, and this is where responsive design gets into play, is that if I were to move this around, it's shrinking and growing with that parent element, which is super powerful. This is super powerful because you don't have to specifically say this square is 100 pixels by 200 pixels and you need to change something. And all of a sudden all your designs need to like go over because it's going over by 1 pixel. You can just tell it, I don't care what the size is, just fit 5 elements in here. And it's really great. So let's go ahead and move one of these over again. Actually, Sydney, how do you think I should do this? I'm calling you out.
No, I was actually gonna ask because I'm doing it on my own. I'm taking notes at the same time.
I believe you.
Where is the button for like the resizing? Like, because I got lost at that point.
Totally. So you'll see it. It'll look like this. If I were to select one of these items, it's just going to be on the right. If it's an auto layout, it'll have it underneath the auto layout. If we're selecting the child elements, it's on this right side underneath the parameters here.
Okay, I see it on that.
Does anybody have any ideas of how I might try to achieve this? There's a couple things I need to do to a couple different containers and elements to make this happen from this. Does anybody have any guesses?
My best guess is to like squish them.
Yeah.
Okay. How would you squish them? Because if I go like this, it's not gonna do anything. How do we squish them? Matt, you have your finger up. What's up?
You want to make the verticality of the colored squares to be filled container.
Ooh, okay. All right. That sounds like an interesting idea. Let's give that a shot. So we're gonna fill the container. Okay, that's good. I need to do one more thing.
You auto lay out all of them and then just push them together.
Oh, look at that.
Oh.
Wonderful. But when I do this, it doesn't work.
Oh,
Remember with this one, I can change all of them at the same time. How are we gonna get this? We're on the right path. We're definitely making progress, but I needed to be responsive. Laura, go.
Would you select them all and then auto lay cut them together?
That's what I've done. These are all in an auto layout right now called lots of color. Andrew, what's up?
Change fix width to fill width.
This one here?
Yeah. Oh, so container.
I think you meant these guys.
Oh,
So fixed width to fill container. Okay.
beautiful.
And look at that. Good job, guys. We did it. I'm so proud of us. And then this is the same thing. You just do this. Cool. To give you an example of what this would be like in an actual app, let's say I have this map here. And again, I don't really care how big this element is. I just want it to fill all the available space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and select this one and this one and this one. I'm going to put them into an auto layout. And it's worth noting these guys always start out as fixed width. It'll never automatically tell it to fill the container. And that's nice because I can then tell it, go ahead and fill the container as much as you can that way with this one and fill it up and down as much as you can with that too. And now whenever I make this bigger or smaller, it'll actually respond to that size. If you look at like the size of that element, I can make it huge. And now it's what the height is 315, whereas before, when I put it down like that a little bit more, the height was 131. And so you can kind of designate one item to be like the thing that grows. Usually it's going to be an image or a text box or something like that. And again, that's super duper powerful. So let's go ahead and bring this guy in here. And oh no, I made it a little too big. So now I can kind of pull that down unless it doesn't want to behave. There we go. I can pull that down and all the items will kind of resize based on the parameters I gave it. All right, our final thing, and this is something that sometimes I use an auto layout just for this because I cannot be bothered to handle padding because padding is so annoying. For those of us in the audience who are not familiar with CSS layout terminology, the padding on this button is kind of that space around the main content that is going to just give it a little bit of air to breathe. You know, it's just nice to have that. If all of our buttons looked like this, it would be kind of hard to use them, I think. And so padding gives us just a little bit of space so that we can visually understand things a little bit better. And you might have seen how I did that, but all we need to do is click on whatever item or group of items we want to have an auto layout padding. And again, just Shift A. And now I can adjust that padding. Now, it might look like it didn't do anything when I click away. And that's because we just need to give it a fill color. So I'm going to do that. And there we go. We can even, round it a little bit because we hate sharp corners. And that's our button with padding. And there's a couple different areas you might want to do this. I have this auto layout that I already made here. Let's give these guys a little bit of space. But if I just had this on a UI, it might not look as nice. And so what I can do is I can just increase that padding, give it a background. Let's round those corners to oblivion. And now these items look very grouped. And again, we're not just doing it for the padding. If maybe I wanted 2 buses, boom, I have 2 buses. It was that easy. It automatically grows because it's kind of doing everything based on the contents that are inside of it. Another big place I see this a lot is for like nav bars. And so I'm going to give each one of these their own auto layout and then put them all into an auto layout. And if I select all these guys, I'm going to give them a fill. Let's make it like pinkish. And I can give them all a little bit more room to breathe. If for some reason, like for these, the up and down parameters look like they're a little bit more than the left and right. So I want to increase that left and right padding. You can individually increase padding by clicking on the place where we did the alignment. And we can set specific values for the padding for each of these. So right now they're all 18. Maybe I want to do like more like 30 for the ones on the left and right. And maybe I can do like a hover state or like an active state like that. Cool. And where we might want to do this in real life, you can see here, there's these items and you can just kind of see the padding around them. We have this white space on the top and bottom. And so again, it just kind of helps contain objects a little bit more visually in a way that makes sense. And what's really great is that that's basically auto layout. that's basically it. That's all that there is to auto layout, each one of those sections. Let's pause for questions real quick, and then we'll get to the challenge and the collaborative activity. What questions do you guys have for me about auto layout? Go for it.
Did you explain what HUD contents were?
It starts out with HUD contents, and that's kind of the default place for all of them. So like if I go to this container here, you can see it's hugging the contents. And that just means it'll grow if I put more contents in, and it'll shrink if I take contents out.
Okay, got
That's like normally like what you would expect it to do. Go for it.
it. Okay, so I'm looking a little slow on my computer following you because we already have these elements made.
That's totally
And
fine.
so like, I think it's kind of confusing. Can you go over it? Can you like build a button from scratch, like with the padding?
Totally. Yeah. It's super simple to do. I'll even do it over here in the wrong section so that you know I'm starting from scratch.
Thank
So I'm going to make a shine button.
Oh, I feel special.
I just feel so shiny right now. And so I have my object, and we'll do something a little bit more advanced as well. We'll give it an icon. So let's go here, and we're gonna do a little star. Look at that. It's a little shining star. So we have these two items, and let's make that not terrible. Cool. So we have these two items. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select all the items I want to be inside of the button. I'm going to press Shift A. And this frame is what's going to become our button. So first we need to align things because that star is a little bit smaller than the text. The second thing I usually do is I give it a background just so that it's easier for me to tell what's going on. So I'm just going to give this a maybe like off yellow. That's not any kind of yellow. There we go. So now I can see the button that I'm making. I'm going to go ahead and increase the padding on all sides using the padding button over here. I guess text box technically. I don't like sharp corners, so I'm going to round those corners a little bit. And then the last thing I kind of talked about is if you feel like there needs to be more on the sides, what you can do is open this up and then just kind of increase those values manually. If I also felt like the star was too close or too far away, again, this is still an auto layout, so I can just move that left and right using this parameter here. And maybe that star's a little far away because it's more of a square object. So let's give 5 on the left and 10 on the right, and that looks a lot more optically balanced. And again, a wonderful thing about this is that it's an auto layout box and it's hugging the content. So if I do a button here and I add more text to it, it's super easy to make that bigger. I don't need to worry about the content that's inside of it. That's the whole point of auto layout, is that it kind of just does it based on parameters and how big that content is on the inside. Does that make more sense? Are we good?
Yes.
Marvelous.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking. What else? What other questions do we have? Laura.
Having worked with you and not taken this course, I know that you auto layout everything.
I do.
If I go in and try to like mess with it, it like kind of jumbles everything up. Is
Yep.
there a way to tell something's in like an auto layout group before I try to edit it?
For sure. The easiest way is probably going to be clicking on it and then looking at it on the left here. If I zoom in, does that? Oh, it totally does. Oh, this is great. So if you see this little symbol there, the two rectangles next to each other, or if I do it up and down, it'll change the two rectangles on top of each other. That's the sign for auto layout. If you're working with me, you can probably just assume everything's auto layouted. But what Laura is referring to is like if I'm trying to put this blue square maybe right here. I want it to go like right here in between the green and orange ones, but like a little bit underneath. If I try to do that, you see that little blue line, it says, oh, this is an auto layout. I'm going to put something in the auto layout. And if I'm not looking for it, it doesn't do what I want it to do. It just moves it. If you don't want that to happen for whatever reason, if you want to override that behavior, I didn't test this, but I'm pretty sure this is how it works. If you click and hold something and then press the space bar and put it in wherever, it'll actually ignore whatever container you want it to be put in. And be careful, because sometimes that also means the container that you wanted, but a lot of times it just makes it easier so that it doesn't accidentally auto layout it. The other thing that you might have noticed is when I put this in here, It does try its best to do it contextually based on which area I'm putting it into. Sometimes it's really hard to get that, but if you hold down Command or Control, it'll always do the one that's directly underneath your cursor, which is really helpful if you have a couple of them really close to each other. And Laura, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cause you any undue stress with that. All right, what other questions do we have? I know there's at least 2 more. I can just feel it in myself. They might come later though. Are we good to move on to the challenge that I have for you guys? What time is it? It's 8:30 already. That's perfect. Okay, cool. So if everybody would go to the URL on the screen, https://bit.ly/flux-figma-auto layout. I'll give everybody a couple minutes to get in here.
I'm disappointed you didn't put a QR code in there.
How are you scanning QR codes with your computer?
I don't know.
That's what I thought, Aparna.
I still wanted one there. It's a weird thing.
Nothing. We'll get to it. Don't worry. There, if you need a QR code because you're Aparna, I have a QR code for you. I'm starting to see a couple. Oh, we have 8 people already. Wow. All right, I'm seeing most of the people in here. Cool. So I have set up a chat. Oh, wow, you've already started. Wow, fantastic. So here's the dealio. I have ripped this post from Insta. Go for it. What's up? I will bring it right back up. There you go. I have ripped this post from Instagram. It was an announcement for FLUX season 2 with Matt Walker, episode 4. If you don't know, Flux also has a podcast that you should definitely listen to. We have design people from all over to help us out with that. And it's a lot of fun. We talk about just design trends and lots of fun stuff. You guys know, don't know Matt Walker. He's a really cool dude. And he's talking to another really cool guy too for this one, I've heard. I don't know if any of us know more about that than me, but that's okay. But what I've done is I have set aside, I actually ripped this from the site. I got the image, I got all the text and all the icons, all the pictures, including a very lovely Matt, Varun, and Aparna. And so what I need you to do, and this is kind of a race, but also a kind of like who can implement auto layout the most with what you've learned. I want you guys to recreate this Instagram post. I'll leave it up here so you guys can reference it. You can also do a quick little option drag or copy paste if you'd like to have your own copy. But I want to see if we can try to implement what we learned about auto layout, trying to recreate this post. And I have a couple people going around to help. So Aparna's here to help, Amanda's here to help. I'm sure some other people understand auto layout. Varun's here to help. If you guys do have any questions on how to do a specific thing, you can do that. Real quick, everybody, before you get started, even if you already have started, the way that I go about something like this is I usually design something flat like this, no auto layouts whatsoever. And then I look for the horizontal and vertical groups. So for example, here we have a horizontal group with the 9 weeks, 2 likes and reply, which is in a vertical group with Varun's comments, and then also the group of these items, which is in a horizontal group of Varun's picture, that group, and the heart, which is inside of a vertical group, which is all of these guys. You guys see where I'm going with it? So it's very helpful to look at this and just kind of group things out in your head before you get started with it, so you have a game plan of how you're going to be doing it. But other than that, you guys are free to go. Go for it. I want to see who finishes the best one the quickest. my gosh, do I get to walk around like a teacher? This is gonna be great.
Yay. It's just Flexbox. No, it is. Yeah.
Okay.
Just not too bad.
That's how I do it. You could also just make it and manually change it.
I'm so old for that.
But,
Even I could not read it. I need the words I.
Maroon has terrible. Maroon, he has glasses. Who hurt you?
You could, it's one way to do it.
You're gonna have to do that.
What other? You can and then the little. And then the post in the group that was made with the post and then the stuff on the left, that icon, that's an email, because those are with the combination of these two.
Which is really hard to do.
Don't worry.
So, the other way I could have done it, but if I
You're hiking, hiking a lot. Oh, wow. I love it.
go around that.
How's it going?
And after the show, I went on like 5 months. Compatibility. I'm like, oh, this is a child everywhere. I just said, but
Not Safari.
yeah, not the very mobile. Or like, I don't know if it's like iOS 14 or something like that.
You definitely look like you're on the right track. You're killing it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Watch
Are you
out,
sure?
everyone else. Watch out. Am I sure? Oh, I'm sure.
You're looking the best out of anyone I've seen so far. And I haven't been looking closely. You're definitely looking the best out of anyone I've seen.
Wow, thank you.
No problem. How's it going? Okay.
I'm like looking at my.
Yeah, yeah.
Bottom left.
Oh, wow, it's the end of this year. How's it going?
Yeah, no, don't worry about it.
So you definitely can do this. The problem arises.
And now maybe this is. That's so funny.
I put the icon in the text.
Oh, for like, auto layout?
The other thing.
Stop.
On the screen, and that way it's so much easier for me to see where the different autolayout are. So that's where I started. You just duplicate what you see there, and then try to see those horizontal.
What's up, dude?
Absolutely.
Okay.
My,
Don't worry about that.
yeah,
Like I said.
see, my problem.
You're still feeling all right? Oh my gosh. No, no, I'm gonna look at it and enjoy it. This is amazing.
You know, I can't do UI. I'm here for morals.
I can't do the UI. What do you mean? What do you mean?
Don't pressure me. You know I can't do it.
I
You're vibes. Because I can't do UI.
I would love
I can do it.
I think you should send it.
No, really.
Better than their first.
Oh, yeah, I
I'm
agree.
so I will show you.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Oh, we're two. Yeah, I think I'm okay. But I was.
Good. I think so. I don't know if I'm ordering things in the right way, but like it's coming together.
Honestly, as it like when you start putting it all together, you'll start seeing, because right now you're doing multiple groups, so once all the groups start coming together, that's when you know. Tough and it's good.
Oh, you're good. It's really.
With Figma, a lot of times we don't use groups, we use what's called frames. And so go ahead and pretend you're ordering them together, select both of those items. And then you're, instead of doing Command G, you're just going to do Option Command. That's gonna make it. And then we want to go ahead. And it might look like nothing happened. What you need to do is flip context. Yep, and now it's gonna clip those corners. So now see how it's just that way. Now it doesn't. Usually in Figma, you want to use frames. It's a different way of thinking, and I don't like how they did that. But it's usually better just because of the way that they build up the software. I'll check back in a few.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. You're so right. I'm a daughter of a teacher. I don't know. You're so right.
All right, real quick, everybody, hold up. How are we feeling? Are you thinking maybe 5 minutes, 7 minutes, many minutes? Are we just done with this and want to move on to the next part? Because the next part's a lot more fun. Kind of. Auto layout city. It's pretty fun. You might actually enjoy this one because it's a lot more freeform. So let's do this. I'll give you guys 5 more minutes on this one, and then I'll talk to you guys about the next activity, okay?
I love how you said Quint taught me this. Okay. Okay, perfect. So first I wanted you to like make sure that this is the button game, correct? And now that we have that,
You get the
we want to make
notifications
sure
for
that
bills
this,
also.
instead of having
I think I turned it off. You can have to.
you want it to like be responsive.
I kind of like it,
You
but at the
did,
same
you
time,
did.
I'm like-
You did. I think out of everyone, probably the best so far.
It needs to go that way. To do that, you
How's
want
it
to
feel?
make this. I got one state and now I forget.
If you ever need to, you can look at the structure and layers and see kind of the hierarchy of what you did. I find that that's helpful for me too sometimes. Oh, you're so close.
So go ahead and take the line and just wrap this.
And it looks great.
Yeah, and then move it.
Oh, wait, but I did it.
Okay, so you remember?
No, I told myself that I wouldn't be as busy this quarter because my classes are
So
starting, I'm not
try to
working,
select
but
both of them. at
I'm
the same
somehow
time.
so busy.
And then make
I
it-
think I just perpetually do that to myself. How about yours?
Not busy in senior, but very busy.
In terms of everything else. Oh.
Okay.
The second startup starts and most of my life is gonna be really chill.
Yeah, I think y'all were interviewing my grandmother on Friday.
Yes, I think, no.
Yeah.
So you want to change it to be failing.
I don't know.
Okay.
Those two. And I'll let
Okay,
those should
yeah.
be-
My grandmother is very.
I don't know why you did it for me.
My mom has to do that.
You were, yeah.
Okay.
And two old southern lady.
And I don't.
Okay, so you want
I
to
think-
fill.
I think it's gonna be quick talking problem.
I don't know why that wasn't. I think it's because you put the picture in. And so it was like,
Let me look. We have a track sheet, so let's share it somewhere on it.
Just, I would just. Yeah. And now.
So I think we'll do-
Oh, no.
Oh, yes.
I'll tell you the same thing I told Laura. If you click on that frame 540 over there, you can see the
But I don't
hierarchy
know, I'm not sure.
of where
I wanted to get some
you can kind of see
For the
how you
website,
did
but
it.
you could ask her.
What you were doing before with that was correct. You want the text to be on one and then to be
Yeah,
on
the
the
sun has gone down, therefore.
You got it, you got it.
So I don't know why.
I like to put it
trying
in,
to.
at the work information.
Smart.
It's the one thing I cannot do, one piece of work that I can do, and I cannot, assign that I cannot.
So that looks correct. If you move the frame around, it should move both of those items.
I don't know, I feel like I'm just used to it.
Yeah, okay. So that's good.
I truly am.
No,
I can read.
No, I get very sleepy.
If I put something off and I just need to sit down and read, I
Oh,
can.
wow. No, I just, this is like sleep time.
Oh my God, I was literally hanging out my brain before this.
I'm gonna say that's on Figma. That's a Figma issue because you did everything. right.
No,
Speaking
it's
of
fine for
people who do
everybody else. I'm the
everything,
only one that ever.
How's it going?
Okay, I'm trying to like figure out the order of operations here.
Okay, all right. That's a poop.
Yeah, so like, what do you like, the group first and then second, and then like.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
the top comment was perfect.
Yeah,
But
this.
to be
Yeah,
fair,
that looks
9 to 10 is-
exactly
This is like
correct. Yeah, no, that's exactly
A
correct.
startup site.
I'm not sure if it is. It
I
looks
am
okay.
because it is. There's no way
Really
to do
made
what
the
you've done
website
there.
easy to make.
So well.
Okay. Okay, and then like, I think I'm kind of confused about like, when the heart is to the side.
I see. That is pretty confusing.
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
I haven't.
Okay, like, it should be like the home contents, like I tried that.
Okay.
Yeah, the motion graphic is really good. I'm a little worried about the time,
Mm.
but it's like a 9 meg file.
And it's like kind of mixed up.
You are missing one step. You could, but the thing I would go about it personally, the way that I would do it is I would go to the math comments.
Oh, yeah.
And then I'd go profile picture, middle one, and then that's it. See how that's like the horizontal groups I was talking about?
Oh, I'm feeling good.
You're feeling fancy. So you can go over to the
Bigger problem is I
thing
think
and
I
instead
felt
of
like how long I just.
you can only see that. So now if you move that,
Stop calling.
pretty good. So,
I need to figure out how big they can start, to be honest.
Okay, so they're only like one.
yes.
If we start with like, and coding, it.
So if you can see where my mouse is.
I'm excited. Oh, yeah, like, if I ever do something.
Yeah.
But at this point, I have a job.
You only selected the items and you made a new one. Click on just frame 671. And then click on that one.
Okay, so the 90s.
Yeah, and then click the auto layout. That's it.
Parts of it are up, like, we've been doing.
All right, everybody, 5 minutes is over. Thank you so much for participating in my challenge. You all did at least okay. And so I am all right moving on. It seems like everybody got the gist of auto layout and how to use it when building UIs. And so as a treat for you guys, I am presenting to you at the very bottom here, Auto Layout City. And I have made the castle of Auto Layout City to demonstrate to everybody. If you want to follow me on Figma, feel free. To demonstrate to you why someone might be crazy enough to try to use auto layout with vector graphics. And that's because normally if I were to scale things up and down, like this portcullis, for example, if I were to scale this up and down, my porthole there would actually get taller and smaller. And these little crenellations here would also get taller and smaller. But through the power of auto layout, I can actually tell only specific things to get bigger or smaller. Same thing with these towers over here. I don't need a bigger triangle. And so I don't. I just scale the rectangle with this. And so you don't have to do a castle. You're more than welcome to. Mine will be better than it, so I don't recommend it. If everybody could make at the very least a small house for yourself, what I am going to do is I'm going to connect everybody up with a kind of like a street kind of thing. And I'll send that out to everybody as a thank you for coming to this event. Feel free to put your name on it and or any things that you support if you want to. It is your house. But that's going to be how we close it out tonight. You're more than welcome to leave also if you'd like to. But I thought it'd be really fun just to make like some houses for this too. Is everybody down to do that? Is that kind of, is that all right? Cool. So enjoy making auto layout city, have some fun with it, make a fun looking house, an area. I see everybody's already gotten started. So if you want to do something and you don't know how, let me know. But try to use auto layout like as much as possible. Tell things to shrink. Okay. Tell things to shrink, tell things to get bigger, hug content, still container. Because that's the wonder of auto layout. Cool. You're very welcome. Oh. Thank you.
What house is that?
It's a 70s house, like very modular.
Model house.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm not doing that.
Maroon's too cool for auto layout.
I'll send me the link.
Okay.
I'll make something.
Okay.
I like that about it, if it's crouched to watch it. Nature and Quint, I guess, aren't.
When are we ever?
You have to actually be under 5'8" to enter my house.
I'm planning on it. I might be cheating.
I know, I'm trying to find it.
No worries.
It sounded like there were worries.
You know, inspired. Of course, the only thing I know about Frank Lloyd Wright is what Marita taught me.
To be fair, I don't know much either, but
Well, everything I know is a portion of what you know.
The man could make some water fall. That's what I'm saying.
what if it's the Quint?
I'm trying to pick a.
Wait, does auto layout hate triangles?
It doesn't hate it, but they're definitely treated like squares.
Yeah. What's up with
It's
that?
more about the bounding box. Oh, here, I will fix your triangle for you as a you're welcome.
How? Wait, how?
Sydney, do you believe in magic?
No. Tell me.
Okay, well, it wasn't magic. When you're making a triangle, this is kind of like a fun little sidebar. When you make a triangle in Figma, you're actually making a polygon with 3 sides. The reason that matters is because it needs to have the ability to make more sides like that. And so for each one of these, see how the bottom of this shape is not at the same place where the bottom of that shape is. So you get a little bit of extra there. What you do instead is you override that with Shift Command O, and you can't change it like a polygon anymore, but the bounding box is the right size now. So all I did was Command Shift O.
Here's my little 70s bungalow.
This is nice.
Thank you.
I think, okay, I'm seeing at least one really big auto layout.
Auto layout.
I know, but what I'm telling you is that I'm seeing at least one and I really want you to do it.
Okay, I'll do it.
Okay, this here, this should be an auto layout. It should be one object that's an auto layout. Oh, kind of. You got the windows in one, but I try to make the windows auto layout also this surrounding area. I think you can do it with padding. Andrew only needs one floor if the floor is tall enough.
It's not good enough.
Matt, you can't just pull it
Yeah.
from the shed and make it count.
I'm autoing it underneath it.
North, you are north.
I wish I was. I wish I had that.
He's been bullying me on
Engineering.
Instagram.
Has he really?
Yes.
I love him even more.
You need to figure out.
I still think it's Alejandro.
I think.
I'm on the all.
Let it be said, I'm the one who guessed Alejandro first. I was the one who brought the Alejandro to the subject.
I'm trying to get everyone off your trail.
Yeah.
I told Aparna this.
He said he's never on Instagram, yet I saw him. on Instagram.
So I told this to Aparna. I am not the shed account. I would have told you guys by now if I were. I'm not going to deny it anymore. That is not me.
Sure.
I really appreciate that you think it could be because it's really funny, but I am not.
What is she doing, Sherry? She made lots of tombstone.
They could be doors.
I'm telling y'all, like, maybe I should have been an architect.
Mine's just a bunch of Quint towers. Like a Quint tower.
Oh my gosh, Savannah, you did an auto layout.
I told you I did an auto layout.
Thank you.
So then you can graduate.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
I appreciate it.
Big Quint towers.
Once I have BC's and Quint's permission, I can graduate.
You get like a little Cubit seal for your for your graduation walk.
Please make Cupid stamps to stamp our diplomas with.
Dude.
That'd be so funny. If we can get FLUX socks, we can get Cupid stamps.
I think so, yeah.
What?
Yeah, I was about to.
All right, everybody, we got 3 minutes left. I don't mean to put anybody in a rush, but that's exactly what I mean to do. So please wrap up your, gosh, I almost called it Flux Town, your auto layout city creations. And we'll take a look at everybody's as we're packing up to leave. That's what we're gonna do. Move them to the city.
So
I feel like those need to be downtown.
They're just like bricks made out of.
There you go. That's a much better place for them.
oh, Sherry gave up.
Oh, she's been moving. She's given us a message. Nikki, are you making the speeder that Luke Skywalker takes to the station? Because that looks exactly like it.
Yellow submarine.
Oh, and Sydney's got a submarine. I like it. Is this it?
I'm looking underwater.
It's an auto layout submarine. Look at that. Look at that rudder. That's great.
It's Sunday.
Yeah.
It's Sydney.
No.
Stop.
Sydney and I have discovered we are almost about the same person.
Basically.
And can we just appreciate the work of art that is
You're welcome.
Savannah's auto layout exercise?
Oh,
She's taken a more impressionist approach.
Just as pretty as my
Why am
frog.
I so
So,
pretty?
because you're just as, like, I don't know, I feel like my frog needed a friend. And it was between you, Matt, and Baru. So I thought you'd be nice to sit with.
You chose correctly.
that frog is your pet or what?
No, Aparna wouldn't want a frog as a pet. The frog is the friend.
Oh. Oh, we go. Space shuttle there.
I'm gonna be honest, guys. Right now, Nikki's winning. It's not a competition, but Nikki's actually winning.
Wow.
I have not been accepted.
Jeff Bezos, the space travel
Ooh, true.
rocket. Oh, Andrew.
Wow, it's almost like you had a shuffler for all these colors. I know this really good plugin for that. If you, what you can do is you even got it ready for me. This is great. You can select a bunch of different items and then set the colors based on that.
I heard someone from dad, you know?
There's no way. We aren't that talented. Varun might be able to do that if it's all he did, because this kid takes forever. Oh.
Whoa.
That's pretty good.
Sydney has the Tonga and the wave.
Mm.
Wave up there.
I'm gonna put a shark too.
Is it a sharp wave, or could we do like a little one of those so that it's like squigglier?
Oh, thank you.
No problem.
That's much better.
Laura, what's your favorite?
Oh,
It's my little van.
Oh, is that what it is? Oh, room, room. So cute.
Oh my gosh, it's an auto layout van. This is amazing.
I still have that cut out picture of Big Joe, but I don't.
Lala. Where's the animation? Little Lala dancing animation.
Oh, wait, asking ye shall receive. Oh, he's so big.
That's not small Joe.
He is Big Joe, in fact.
Can you zoom into me again?
Yeah, definitely.
Vroom, vroom. Oh,
She's doing a little wave. Hi, everyone.
oh, look at that animation.
Look, you made the mushroom.
Amanda.
It's really nice.
Nice. We got an auto layout there too.
He's on an anti-Savannah tirade right now. He's having nothing to do with me.
For the cats.
Yeah.
But it's like a tiger. It's so
big.
big.
His name is Big Joe.
Oh my gosh, wow.
Big tiger there.
I feel like a cat this big would actually be on
Oh,
top
you're
of the
right. I
house.
think he would be on the roof. He's checking his domain.
Exactly.
What he does looking down on Drayton Street every day.
The tiger's name is the Joe.
Big Joe.
Big
That's my
Joe.
man.
Feel like my house is-
I feel this is what I expected from everybody. I'm glad that it wasn't that, but thank you for doing it.
I'm glad I'm meeting expectations.
Absolutely. All right, I think we're gonna wrap it up, guys. This is so much fun. It turned out so much better than I thought it was going to with the collective creative willpower of all of us. So thank you for that. And I'll see what I can do to get it sent out to everybody. You're welcome, online friends. Thank you. And thank everybody for showing up. Absolutely.
It's more like a sophomore student.
Yeah.
All righty, bye online. See you later.